Hey everybody, it's your favorite traveler in the entire world, Imani B. I'm back for another Travel Talk Tuesday where I bring you everything I know about the world of being an expat, living abroad, traveling, meeting your spouse abroad, traveling with children, giving birth abroad, finding a job, finding yourself, getting your life, all of those things, all of the above. Today's episode is personal to me. I mean, I feel like every episode that I will do on this channel is going to be starting with my experience, period. It's always going to be coming from the lens of a very honest and authentic experience because this is what I've lived for the last 6 years. So if you refer back to my first video gave you the introductory into who it is that I am and why I could be the person to be telling you this information. So let's get into it, okay? Because this video I think is really highly important, especially for people that are still mulling over the idea of moving abroad, but they're not 100% sure. People make a lot of mistakes when they're thinking about making the move and before moving abroad. So I'm going to help you with those mistakes that you make and let you know how not to make them. Mistake number one that people tend to make whenever they're moving abroad, they tell people who have never done it before. Why? Like, not necessarily just telling people who have never done it before, but almost like asking of a what do you think kind of thing. And it's like, but Aunt Jean ain't moved out her city in the last 46 years. Why you asking Aunt Jean what she think? Because, and let me tell you, Aunt Jean may be great. Aunt Jean may be amazing and may be like, hey, go live your life, honey. I ain't never did it before. Go, right? But 8.5 times out of 10, when you tell people or tell them in a way where you're asking them their thoughts, you're asking almost like permission for them to give you permission to go, they're going to give you all the fear-mongering, poster board ideologies that they done seen on CNN, that they done seen on whatever news network that they watch or that they saw on Twitter or whatever the case may be. It's always going to be that. It's always going to be like, they don't like black people over there. What you gonna eat over there? Do they have houses over there? I've heard all kinds of things. Now, mind you, I'm somebody who lived on 4 continents, and every single place that I've lived, I've heard it all. I've heard it all. And I'm like, do y'all remember I am a black American Muslim woman from the United States of America. I don't think there's any place on this earth that's less safe. Okay? So that's always going to be the thing. People are going to think somewhere is so much more safe. I live in Mexico. First thing everybody mentions, what about the cartel? I'm like, I don't know. They're here, yeah, but so are Bloods and Crips, and I don't remember running into them just on a drive-by, you know what I mean? No shade. Granted, every place has its areas. Every place has impoverished parts. Every place has parts where people are deeply marginalized and, there's crime because there's poverty and all of those kinds of things. But these are socioeconomic mechanisms as a result of a multitude of factors starting with racism and white supremacy. So please don't tell Aunt Jean, especially if she's somebody who's not going to encourage what it is that you're looking to do. In my personal experience, I didn't tell anybody until after I bought my plane ticket, and a very small portion of people knew, but everybody else found out after I ended up in Cairo. And people were like, when did you go there? When did you get there? And I do that consistently. Every place that I go in the world, even when I'm traveling, just regularly traveling, people don't know until I get there, until I get to my destination. I just had this thing with juju and energy and all of that, and I don't need nobody putting no bad juju or no bad energy on where I got to be and where I got to go, because I got things to do, okay? Number 2, and this is for my people, this is for my folks, because y'all do this a lot, and I don't fault you, but you ain't got to do this, okay? You don't necessarily have to go everywhere where you feel like there's a multitude of black people. Let's just keep that 100. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, if you're going to move abroad, you got to go to Africa. And number one, there are black and brown folks all over the globe. Like literally all over the globe, right? We lived in China. We found communities of black people in China, black expats in China, black Americans in China. So you don't necessarily have to go somewhere just because you think it's going to be a multitude of black people there. And no shade, a lot of people will shade you. Skin folk ain't always kinfolk. I've had situations where I've gotten so excited to see somebody with, beautiful brown skin. And I'm like, oh, hey. And they like, I'm like, oh, we're on that type of time on this side of the world. Okay, got you, heard you, see you. So sometimes that's not always the creme de la creme, the be all, the end all. Sometimes it's a matter of going somewhere and creating your own community, going somewhere and creating your own village, going somewhere and creating your own family structure. You know what I'm saying? So don't necessarily always like have the expectation that you got to go somewhere just because all the black folks there. You know what I mean? Like the reason of moving and doing this thing and being an expat is because of the experience and the greater lengths of what it is that you gain ingratiating yourself in other cultures. That's the piece. That's the piece that people tend to forget sometimes. So number 3, leaving things in the hands of the wrong people. That's a mistake that we make, right? Because we want to hold on to stuff. We want to hold on. Like some of us, we'll sell stuff off and we'll, do what needs to be done on, American soil. But there's some stuff that we just don't want to let go. Now, the hardest part about moving abroad is the mail. A lot of times, especially since we still have to do our taxes. Yes, you still have to do your American taxes, even if you live all the way in Rwanda. Yes, you still do. But, so as a result of us having to do certain things, still having to get certain documents or whatever, sometimes you may leave that in the hands of a relative. Aunt Jean, we just gonna keep using Aunt Jean. I don't even say aunt, I say aunt, but for this purpose, I'm saying aunt because it just sounds wacky. No shade. But literally, you want Aunt Jean to like, oh, can you get my mail? Can you pick it up? Whatever. Or you need something or something is, supposed to be getting delivered and you never hear from her and you like, it happens to me all the time because I always have to shift my mail. My mother-in-law just moved here to Mexico with us, not living with us, but she's living here as well. And she used to be our go-to for the mail. So we had to switch that over. So if in the event something happens with your debit card, you need a new debit card, you got to depend on somebody all the way on the other side of the world to get your debit card. Just happened to me, and it's happened to me multiple times in the years that I've lived abroad. Documents that you need, you're waiting for documents to come in for whatever reason. There's a multitude of things. Don't leave your stuff in the hands of the wrong person. You got a house and you want to rent it out to a cousin. Make sure that cousin is going to keep that house up. Okay, and that it ain't gonna be holes in the wall and ratty when you get back or when you need to do whatever it is that you need to do on this side of the world. Like, make sure that you put your things in the care of people who are going to care for it, people who are reliable. And if you can't find those people, then you definitely have to find alternatives to that. And guess where you can find alternatives? Oh, in my ebook. Okay, it's called Pack Your Shh, and you can definitely click the link. Okay, it's literally 50-something pages that I've handwritten myself. Okay, this is not something that I copy and pasted from the internet. This is stuff that I've written myself, and that can tell you all the things that you need in this quest to moving, living, and thriving abroad. Okay, and the last mistake that people make before they move abroad is that thinking that moving somewhere is gonna make all your problems go away. No, sir, no, ma'am. No, it's not. It's not going to make your problems go away. And in fact, one of the things about moving abroad is that it can be very frustrating. It can exacerbate. If you're somebody that has anxiety or depression or something like that, it can possibly exacerbate it depending on what the situation is. You don't know a language. Oh my God, my first 90 days in China, the hardest. And anybody that's ever actually lived in China, now I loved living in China. We'll get into that in another episode, but I absolutely loved living in China. But there are a lot of people that'll tell you That first 90 days, especially if you don't live in a city like Shanghai or Beijing, where there's more expats and there's more, international mixtures of cultures and people that speak more English. But when you got to deal with that Mandarin, baby, when you got to deal with that WeChat, and when you have to deal with having to scan a barcode to pay for this, and you don't have an actual Chinese bank account to hook up to that QR code to pay for. Listen. Okay? Your problems won't go away magically because you decided to move abroad and start a new sector of your life. So one thing that I implore people, like, make sure you still connect with a therapist or a life coach or somebody that's going to keep you grounded, because moving abroad can be very frustrating. It can really cause a loneliness that you have never felt before. Within my first 5 months of moving to Egypt, I was very lonely. Very lonely. And I was out and about. I went and I got my PADI scuba diving certifications. I got 2. I was meeting people. My students were taking me to the movies. I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I felt lonely. Lonely. I never felt that way before. I've lived in 4 states, outside of living with my family. So just know it is not a cure. It is not a cure for your problems. Your problems are not going to magically go away. They're always going to be there. It's just a matter of your quality of life may change substantially. And some of those problems, like constantly looking at your bills on the refrigerator, those can go away. You know what I mean? Being able to pay off your debts and not worried about, when something's going to get cut off, those problems will go away. But there's just certain things that are deep-seated that you may have that it's just not magically going to disappear. So, these are the mistakes that I feel like are really important to highlight and let people know the real in terms of moving abroad. It is a beautiful experience. It is a lovely experience, but it is still work and it is still hard. So y'all get out there, do some research, be blessed. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, please put them in the comments. Let me know how you're loving these videos. I'm making sure that I'm being consistent. Every Monday, Monetize Monday, we're talking about monetization on all social media platforms. And then Tuesdays is going to be our travel talk, talking expatriation, talking about traveling the world, talking about getting your life and just getting it, y'all, in 2022 and beyond. So I appreciate y'all. Definitely hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell for these videos. And have a good Tuesday.